Hello students, so we are continuing with the function chapter, and today we'll discuss about default argument. So what is default argument? Now in the function call, that is the calling function, one or more arguments, you can omit one or more arguments, that is the values assigned to the variables. Okay, it can be omitted by providing default values in the function prototype. So it may be that in some programs the variable may not be assigned any value, and the calling function will pass that variable to the call function, so without assigning any values. So what will happen is that a garbage value will be passed to the call function, right? So in such cases default argument is used. So what we do is that in the function prototype declaration, okay, within the parenthesis we provide the default values. So I'll explain step by step on that. So here example is, here we have a function prototype declaration. So here the return type is float. This is the user defined function name sum underscore num, and here within the parenthesis you can see that there are three parameters that are declared, that is a, b and c. So these are the three parameters or three variables that are declared separated by commas, and these are the data types. So int a, float b and int c. So every variables needs to be declared by the data type, and you can see that within this function you can have as many parameters as you want. You can have one parameter, you can have two parameters, you can have three parameters, you can have 4, 5, 10 parameters also. And also the data type need not be of the same type, it can be of different types. It can be integer, it can be float, it can be character, anything, right? So here in this function prototype you can see that it is specifying two default arguments, that is 20.5 and 30. So till the last class you have not seen any values assigned in the function prototype, right? You have only seen the parameters declared. So here you can see that this value is assigned to this variable b, and this value 30 is assigned to this variable c. So this is what is called as default arguments. These are the default arguments. In case the call function does not pass any value to the the calling function does not pass any value to the call function, okay, these values will be substituted in the place of the missing arguments in the call functions, in the calling functions. Clear? So this is what is called as default argument. So here function sum num can pass more than one parameters and default arguments of different data types. Okay, so it can pass more than one parameters. Here you are passing three parameters, and default arguments you can pass as many default arguments as you want. All of may be of different data types, or it can be of same data types. Okay, so here this is the function definition. So this is the function definition. As you know that the calling function and the function definition, since function prototype is a blueprint, right? So the function definition and the calling function is based on this function prototype. As you can see, the return type is same, the function name is same, and the number of parameters that are passed through or that are accepted by the function definition is also same, 3, and then the data type is same, right? So it is very important that the parameter names may not be same, because it is local only to this particular function definition body, right? So here it need not be that here it should be a, b and c. You may have x, y and z, or you may have l, m, n also. It does not matter. What matters is the data type should that the arrangement of the data type. If here it is integer, here also it should be integer. If here it is float, it should be float here. It cannot be that in the function prototype it is integer float, and in the function definition it is float integer. Okay, otherwise wrong values will be assigned, because the values are passed and accepted in this order format only. Okay, so here the parameters or the variable names may or may not be same, as I've mentioned here, okay, because local variables, right? But the order of arrangement of the type should be same. That is what I was referring to, right? So that is as an example here, this same comparison, okay, this is the function prototype. Now if in the program you write like this, if you write float y first and then in x second and then in z third, okay, so you can see that the order of the data type does not match. Now if suppose you put this first and you put this second and then you put this third, okay, since it is integer, okay, so it won't matter. Clear? Now in function prototype, parameters without default values, so parameters without default values are placed first and those with default values are placed next. So when you're using this default argument, okay, always you have to make sure that the variable which is declared in the function prototype, which is not assigned any value, should be placed first. Here you can see that in the function prototype from the earlier page, a is not assigned any default value, right? So it is placed first irrespective of the data type, and then whichever variables are assigned the value will be placed next and next. So if you write down in this format, suppose int c is assigned the value 30, so if it is written first and float b is written second, or int a is written last, or int a is written second, that is the incorrect format. Clear? So always the default in when you are using the default argument, the variable which does not have any default value will be written first. Clear? Now, however, the actual arguments, if specified in the calling function, explicitly overrides the default argument. Now, the default argument may be assigned in the, or may be specified in the function prototype, right? But it is not necessary that the program will use these default values. No, it depends on the calling function. If the actual arguments, that is here in this main function, you can see that three variables are declared and initialized. X and y are assigned the same value 10, so that's why we use this assignment operator. X equals, oh sorry, here z, right? X equals to z equals to 10. So these are local variables, that is can be used only within the main function, right? And so x, y, z here, okay, if I write here a, b, c also, okay, it is not same to this a, b and c. So here float y is assigned the value 10.5. so as you can see that all the three variables are assigned three different values. So here result equals to sum num, so this is the calling function passing the actual arguments. So in this case, the values which are assigned to the local variables, in this case these variables are the actual variables, right? Or you can call these as the actual variables or actual parameters. Okay, so in the function definition, it is called as formal arguments or formal parameters, right? Because this calling function calls the call function and passes these values, that is the actual arguments, that is 10, 10 and 10.5. so here in this particular program, since all the variables are assigned the three different values, okay, so the default values need not be assigned to these three variables, because since all these variables are assigned, already stores and already passes the values to the calling function, to the call function, okay, so these default values will not be used in the program. Clear? Now these default values will only be used if suppose you are not assigning any values, or you are not assigning any values to all of these variables, or you are not assigning to some of the variables. Okay, so here the purpose of the default argument, so when the calling function passes the actual argument and one or more arguments are missing, so suppose if one of the actual argument is missing in the calling function, so what then meaningless garbage values will be passed to the call function. Alright, so a random value based on the data type will be passed to the call function. So in order to avoid such errors, missing arguments are substituted with the default arguments of the same type. So here is a program to demonstrate the default argument. So from here you can understand much better. Okay, so this is the function prototype with the default arguments as it is in the same. Okay, so as usual here, the variable which is not assigned any default values is written first. So the return type is double. So keep in mind the return type of the function, okay, the overrides or overrides the type of the parameters, the data type of the parameters. So that means if you get the if suppose after executing formula, okay, since these variable values will be used, you let's say that you are getting a result as integer. However, since this function is returning a double, okay, so it will, the output will be in the double format. So here local variables, or these are also called as actual parameters, that is x, y, z, okay, and these values 10, 10.5 and 50 are what is called as actual arguments. So since here all the three variables are assigned three different values, now see out using default arguments. So here is an example of how we use the default arguments. So this is the calling function, and you can see that in this calling function only one variable is passed. Three variables are declared and assigned three different values, but only one actual parameter is passed to the call function. So this is one part of the program, this is another part of the program. So this is the call function and this is the main function, and in the main function the calling function is written. So the main function invokes this calling function so that it will call this call function. So now since only x, that is this one actual parameter is passed to the call function, okay, so this will be automatically matched with the first variable in the call function definition body. Okay, so here the value of x10 will be passed and stored in this variable a. Now but what about y and z? Here it is not mentioned, right? So in that case this default value 20.5 and 30 will be passed to b and c. So b will receive this value here and c will receive this value in this variable c. So here a, b and c are the called as formal parameters because it is mentioned in the function definition section. Okay, so these values are the actual arguments, or and this is the this x, y, z are the actual parameters, or also called as actual variables, and these are called as formal parameters or formal variables. And the value that is accepted by the here in the function prototype, it is called as default argument, but when the value is passed to the variable b and c in the function definition, okay, they are called as formal arguments, not default arguments. Okay, so here so you can see that here, okay, you are using the default arguments. Now in this next statement, see out using actual arguments. So here you can see that the calling function is passing all the values that is assigned to x, y and z. So all the actual arguments are passed and that means a copy of the value is passed to the variable a, b and c. Okay, so in the next video I'll be discussing about how a copy of this value is passed to these variables. Okay, so that is like passed by value, passed by reference, okay, which I'll explain in the next topic. So that formula will be executed and then you will return the value to the sum. Okay, so this is how you execute this the programs using the default argument, right? So go through this go through all the programs, go through the topics, okay, study this default argument nicely, okay, and then if you have any doubts on that you can ask, right?